Violence and abuse can take many forms, and often those who suffer feel they have no options. However, Violence Against Women's Act offers hope to victims of abuse, regardless of their gender or immigration status. Today, we will share the stories of Rosa, Luis, and Ana, three individuals who faced unimaginable challenges but found a way out thanks to VAWA. Are you ready to hear their stories? Did you know that even a child can be the abuser in an abusive relationship? Rosa, an immigrant mother, came to the United States seeking a better future and soon had a child who was born here in the United States. However, over time, her son, who began showing severe addiction problems, became increasingly abusive. Imagine how difficult it must be to face that scenario. Not only was he constantly getting into trouble, but he also started pawning household items to cover his addictions, leaving her without resources and in a critical situation. Rosa felt trapped, afraid that reporting her son would ruin both their lives, especially since he still needed help. The situation caused Rosa to wake up many nights terrified, thinking about how her son had reached this point. One day, Rosa's friend, who knew her situation, told her about VAWA. She explained this law protects victims of abuse even if the abuser is a child. Rosa felt relieved to learn that by seeking help, her son would not be affected, opening a path she never thought existed. And more importantly, she no longer had to feel guilty about getting her son the help he so desperately needed. With the support of an immigration attorney, Rosa learned that she needed to obtain psychiatric diagnosis to accompany her statement documenting the emotional pain that her son had on her. That same doctor helped her son get the treatment he needed to get better. She was also able to get statements from neighbors who had witnessed her son's abusive behavior. With these elements, she submitted her application under VAWA. Thanks to this process, she was able to obtain a work permit and eventually her residency. At last, Rosa found hope for a life free from fear, where she could focus on her own well-being and help her son get the attention he desperately needed. Let me know in the comments if you experienced a situation similar to Rosa's or know someone going through this. Remember, there are resources available to help you just like there were for Rosa. In the description below, you will find valuable information about organizations that help people who have experienced any type of abuse. You're not alone, and there are resources available for you. Now, let's continue with the story. Can VAWA be obtained for a possessive relationship? Let's see Luis's story. Luis married a U.S. citizen, believing he had found true love. However, his wife became increasingly possessive and toxic. She placed a GPS on his phone and his car to constantly track him, read his messages without his consent, and controlled everything Luis did. He lived in constant state of fear. His wife told him that if he ever tried to leave her, she would have him deported, given that Luis did not have legal status since she had not petitioned for him after they married. This extreme control and the threats about his deportation kept him trapped in a toxic relationship. Luis found himself in a cycle of anxiety and depression. His self-esteem deteriorated day by day as he listened to his wife's constant threats. Fortunately, Luis did not stay silent and discovered that a friend who had been through a similar situation had found protection through VAWA. Luis feared he wouldn't be able to apply as a man, and even worse, that his wife would find out he was seeking help. Pay attention here, Immigration Nation. VAWA is also designed to help men like him who are victims of abuse. Luis learned that when applying for VAWA, his wife would not be notified about his application, giving him a breather to act without fear of retaliation. Luis decided to seek help from an immigration attorney who would guide him through the process. With their support, he was able to present his case under VAWA, documenting not only the threats and emotional control, but also the GPS his wife had installed on his phone and car as a form of abuse. This process allowed him to obtain his residency, giving him a second chance of life. Now Luis can live without fear, rebuild his self-esteem, and is in the process of adjusting to status here in the United States. I want you to keep something important in mind, Immigration Nation. If Luis had not shared what he was going through, he probably wouldn't have known that he could apply for VAWA. It's crucial that if you are experiencing a situation like this, you do not stay silent. There are resources and people willing to help you. Remember, the links of the organizations are below. Ready for the last story? Anna's story shows us how VAWA protects you even after divorce. Anna married a man who seemed to be the ideal partner, but she quickly realized that her husband exercised extreme control over her. Her ex-husband, now, prohibited her from leaving the house without his permission, constantly threatened her, saying that if she ever left him, her life would become hell. Despite managing to separate, Anna continued to feel threatened, especially because her ex-husband blackmailed her, telling her that if she sought help, she could lose custody of her child from a prior marriage and be deported. Anna lived in constant state of fear. Her ex-husband's threats followed her everywhere. Determined to protect herself and her child, Anna began researching her rights. It was then that she discovered that within 2 years after divorce, she still qualified for VAWA as long as she had been a victim of abuse during the marriage. This information was a ray of hope in her life. With the support of a help group and an attorney, Anna submitted her case under VAWA. She learned that her situation was not unique and that many women in her position had successfully found safety and protection. Her attorney helped her gather documents and evidence, such as threatening messages she had received and a psychological diagnosis documenting the emotional abuse she had suffered. Through this process, Anna obtained the protection she desperately needed, allowing her to move forward without fear. She is on her way to obtaining her residency, providing her with the opportunity to rebuild her life and ensure her child grows up in a safe and loving environment. If you're a victim of abuse or know someone who is, do not isolate yourself. Connect with others who may be going through similar situations and seek support groups where you can share your experience and find strength. In conclusion, the stories of Rosa, Luis, and Ana teach us that no matter what situation you are in, there is always hope and options to pursue. Each of them found the strength to break the cycle of abuse and seek help through VAWA, and you can do it too. Remember, you are not alone in this fight. There are resources and people willing to support you on your journey to a life free from fear. If you feel overwhelmed or believe you have no options, I encourage you to speak up and seek support. There are links to organizations below. Don't let fear or shame keep you silent. You deserve to live a full and safe life. If you know someone facing a similar situation, share this information with them. Together, we can create a stronger, united community where everyone feels protected and valued. Thank you for joining us today. And if this video resonated with you, consider sharing it and leaving a comment about your experience. We are in this together. Until the next video, folks.
Hey, did you like the video? I invite you to watch another video where I share more tips on how to protect your reputation as an immigrant. Until next time.